Exciting times are here, and no, I don't mean the IAE. It is Black Friday season, which means there are some discounts, and there have been some drops on some very relevant parts to Star Citizen. So we're going to look through that, just go through some of the different CPUs, GPUs, and just see what's going on and whether this is a good time to spend your money. Let's get into it. Okay, so here we are on Scan, the site that I use in the UK for most of the buying, sometimes overclockers, but I have an affiliate link for Scan, so if you want to buy things, click on that link and buy things and give me money. But let's look at some components. So, first of all, let's talk about Ryzen CPUs. If we go over to here, let's look at the 7000 series first. AMD has basically done a price cut because these things were not selling because they were badly priced. AMD overpriced them, and you can see here big drops from the initial prices. And also, if you come down to the one that I'm looking at, the 7700X, that's down in price as well. These aren't all necessarily good deals, and for Star Citizen, they're not necessarily what I would recommend, but the AM5 platform, probably of all the options that you could buy if you're building a new machine, right now would be the one to go for, because it's going to give the longevity and it's going to give the whatever they call it, but probably a 7800X 3D, so the 3D cache version of these 7000 chips. It will be priced above this one probably, well definitely, but that will be the one probably that will bring amazing Star Citizen performance. But for now, these are the options you've got. Also, if you've currently got an AM4 motherboard but you're not on, say, the 5000 series, the option really is to go for the 5800X 3D. And does that have an offer on it? It's down in price a fair bit, so it's still not cheap. That's not a cheap price for a CPU, especially compared to the other 5000 series, but this is the king currently for Star Citizen performance. So this is the one to go for if you're wanting the current best possible Star Citizen performance. But is it really a good idea to go out and buy a whole system? So this is obviously still on DDR4, you have to buy a motherboard. If you have nothing and you're trying to buy a complete system, would I go for this? Probably not. It's an incredible upgrade if you've got an AM4 compatible motherboard that will run this chip. And again, look out for even further price drops maybe over the next months, maybe as we go in towards Christmas or the holidays, whatever you call it. So yeah, the AMD chips are coming down, and like we say, an actual price drop on the 7000 series. The big thing to talk about with the AMD 7000 series is not really the CPU's price, but the prices of the motherboards. They have been very high, and so we're looking here. These are the E models, which are the kind of fancier ones that guarantee certain things, and I don't really know if there's any point to them. The lowest one of these is over £300, which is expensive. And if we scroll down, you can see obviously there's some crazily priced ones. There's some smaller mini ITX ones, but we're not worried too much about this. This is the non-E models, and again, still quite expensive, £280. And so you probably may well be tempted to go down to the 650 chipset, which will get pretty much everything and the same performance, but maybe not as many PCIe lanes, or maybe you're looking at M.2 SSDs that have only got Gen 4 rather than Gen 5. So there's things like that. But these still, considering they're relatively low-end motherboards, are still really expensive. So you just wouldn't, I would never really consider getting a cheapy motherboard. And some of these ones here have only got one M.2 slot, and so if you need lots of storage, they're problematic as well. So none of these are great options, and they're still really expensive. So it might be still a case of waiting for some of these, but I don't know whether they're going to drop too much more. And again, it depends what your situation is. It depends whether you need to get a system right now, or whether you're just looking to upgrade. If you're looking to just upgrade, it's probably worth waiting for these to drop some more, because these are all really a rip-off for a B650 motherboard with hardly any connectivity. This is crazy. They're crazy prices. On the Intel side, I've basically been watching the i7 chips, and they again have come down. I'm looking at the KF. I've got currently a 12700 KF, but this is now the new gen, the Raptor Lake one. This has come down from about £469, so just gradually been dropping, and so Again, is this the time to buy one of these? Maybe not. Maybe they're going to keep dropping in price. But yeah, I keep saying I'm going to pick one of these up. I nearly did it last week, but they now keep dropping and dropping and dropping, and actually that's a really good price. The other thing to talk about would be RAM. DDR5 RAM in particular is also slowly getting there in price. So we'll go up to the 6000 megahertz kits because they're probably the most interesting. You'll see here some of these, let's do them low to high. We're getting towards the 200 mark for 32 gigs, and that's not the fastest, that's probably a bit slower with the CAS 40 there, but this one here with the AMD Expo, £220 for 32 gigs of RAM, running at 6000 megahertz with relatively decent latency. That's as good as we've seen since DDR5 has come out, so it's all heading in the right direction in terms of what we would want to get. Let's also have a quick talk about graphics cards, and we are in this weird slot where we've got NVIDIA have released their 4090 and 4080, and we're waiting for AMD to release the 7900 XTX and XT. What you can see here, and this basically sums up how this is all working, the 4090 cards are all out of stock because they are proving popular, because although they cost a lot of money, they are very, very powerful, and actually if you're going to spend this much money, you'd be worth getting that. Whereas the 4080s, and this has been reported quite widely on other, well, big YouTube channels and things like that, they're just not selling, so they're all in stock. So basically, if I wanted to buy a 4080, there's a few models that are not in stock, but there's huge selection of cards because they're not popular, because they're not very good for the money, and they're really, really overpriced. And we are expecting the AMD cards that they release to be around the performance, and they're priced a lot better. They're priced more like £1,000 or dollars, so we'll see what they cost in pounds. But yeah, the 4080s look currently like a terrible buy, and again, in terms of when you buy a graphics card and things like that, will NVIDIA drop the price of these in response? I don't know. I'm not sure if NVIDIA really would want to do that, but they look like the 4080s, they just look like they're just not going to sell. Nobody in their right mind is buying these right now, because yeah, we're about to get the AMD cards on the 13th of December, and they just look awful, the 4080s at this point. And just in general, Black Friday is a good time to pick up all sorts of random computer parts, the sort of deals that are available. I would suggest keeping an eye out. In the UK, there's this amazing website called Hot UK Deals, which pops up with all sorts of deals that get kind of upvoted if they're good value. So that's a good way. I'm sure those sorts of websites exist for wherever you live, but I'm sure there will be some decent storage options. You can see already here, some of these have got discounts. You do have to keep an eye out, because Black Friday isn't always a guarantee of cheaper prices. So don't just buy something because it says, oh, however much money off. Actually do some research and check, is that actually down from where it normally is? Or sometimes there's even rumours of parts that cost more, and they just look like they're cheaper because of the discounts that are on them. Now obviously I've just been talking about new parts, but the good news is that when new parts drop in price, it tends to push down used parts as well. So keep an eye out on things like eBay, because there will be some deals around. And already we know that GPU prices have been dropping consistently for a while now, because the crypto craziness is kind of coming to an end, and just in general, the kind of overstocking of parts from NVIDIA and AMD from the last gen, so the 3000 series from NVIDIA and the 6000 series from AMD, they made too many of them basically, and so the prices are just going down and down and down. So if you're not in the kind of market for brand new products or even used stuff, there should be some deals around as well, so keep an eye out for that. This is obviously a slightly different thing to what we normally do. We're normally looking at testing Star Citizen, but you got to have these parts to test them. So I'm hopefully going to pick up all these CPUs, not all the CPUs, but we're looking at getting the 7700X and the 13700KF, because I want to test them and I want to compare them to the previous gen stuff. And finally, when the IAE is over, and we're going to get a little window hopefully between the end of IAE, and then we're also going to have at some stage, maybe this year, probably more like next year, we're going to get 318. I'm looking to do masses of testing, loads of testing, so keep an eye out for that. But subscribe if you like this sort of stuff, like this video, it helps out. You can join the Discord, you become a channel member if you really want to support me, and that'll do. I'll see you soon, bye.